Well, welcome back to Trevor's Kitchen Garden. I've been working for the last year on a book, of course, so haven't been able to get up too many videos on the site, but Trevor's Kitchen Garden, same name, is now launched, so I can get back to doing the main job for April, which is seed sowing. Seed sowing really requires you to make choices because it's really what you like to eat. That's the whole point of the kitchen garden. So I've made out a plan. I'll put that up on the website as well, with my 4 patches in the garden for vegetables. So I have my garlic and my leeks, my peas and my beans, and then the third patch, my purple sprouting broccoli, my cabbage, sea kale, and then my beetroot, really my favourite, with leaf beet and that family there. Also have pots for carrots, rockets, lettuce and radish in window boxes, and there will be more, of course, in this lovely new greenhouse, which I got since the last time we were putting up videos as well, thanks to my generosity of my green friends for my 50th birthday, would you believe. Anyway, we have a number of types of seeds to be sown here in different ways, so I'll just get on with it and let you see for yourself. The recycled coffee cups from the farmers market in Balbriggan are going to be coming in useful for larger seeds, things like sunflower, which I want to let the roots develop so they'll be nice and big, and then there's the smaller ones that are in a module like this. That's handy because once they're grown you can push out from the bottom, there's a little hole at the bottom, and take out the whole root without disturbing it. Then I have a contraption here which is for making modules, for making small seeds like the little leek seeds here, and then I'm going to be using toilet rolls on top of those modules, filling of a compost for the bigger seeds like peas, and that gives them space for their roots to develop. So on we go. This is probably the easiest way of sowing seeds, to my mind anyway. It's one of these kind of module trays, and they in turn fit into one of the regular trays like this, so that they're strongly held on the shelf. But to actually get them going is really just a matter of filling them with compost, and fill them good and full, because once you water them the compost shrinks, so it's a matter really of just getting them level. I can just brush off any excess because I've got this workstation here in the greenhouse, and it's handy. It's a kind of a tray with sides on it, so I don't worry about it going all over the place. Get a small watering can so you can soak before you sow the seeds. Otherwise you're going to be washing seeds from here and there, and it's not a great start for a seed to be caught in a little tsunami, so soaking the tray is good. Now the leaf beet, I put 1 in each station. It's tempting to use lots of seeds, but really if you put too many in and they crowd, they just compete with each other and end up all being weaker. So try to restrain yourself using seeds and just put in 1, at most 2, but be prepared to pull out a weak one so that you leave 1 strong seed per module. So there we have it. The seeds are each in a module from the leaf beet, rainbow chard there, and I'll just put a little skim of compost on the top, flatten it down so that they're buried. And the rule of thumb in depth, you know, how deep do I put the seeds is the question a lot of people ask, is really the depth of the seed again. In other words, if it's a small seed then it doesn't go down that deep. If it's a very large seed, obviously you need to have a lot more compost on top of it. So just look at the size of the seed and bury it the size of that seed down. So in other words, these are small, so they just need a skim over so they're not exposed, which means they won't dry out, hopefully, because the idea is that they stay moist and are triggered to germinate by the moisture and the heat, of course, which in the greenhouse is great here at the moment. The seeds are sown. Very important though to label, even though you might think, I know that one is the green one and it has the leaf bead in it. Really, after a little while, when you get busy in other things, it becomes a doubt of what's in the seed tray, which is a real frustration. So, leaf bead. That is, and I'll just put the date because that's handy to know how long it comes up, and you get to know after a while how long it'll take before they show. So that is the seed tray ready, watered. It will have to be watered every morning, really, or checked on every morning to see how much water it needs. And I'll put that on the tray and start the next tray. Just before I go on to the next one, I'm just going to take the seed packet, which wasn't all used. In a small garden you seldom use all the seeds in the packet, and just say sown on that date that we're in the beginning of April here now, and seal it again, and that'll go back in the fridge in its sealed container so that it won't be tempted to germinate for next year. The next way of sowing seeds is great if you have lots of old coffee cups, as I do from Balbriggan Farmers Market here, and it's for large seeds, because you also need a bit of space for it, mind you, as well, because the seeds like sunflower or runner bean, peas, that are really large chunky seeds, they have a large root system, and you really want to give them space to develop at the early part of their life, so they're not checked, and they'll then go, when they're planted out into the garden, they will take off and give you a great crop. In this case, I'll just get the sunflowers underway. I love sunflowers in the garden, as does lots of wildlife, and that really means just filling up these and planting the seed. Very simple. So we'll get on with that now. Now all the cups are full. Very simple. Make sure, as before, to water them in advance of sowing the seed. So in the packet of seeds there's a foil mini seed packet, which is really to keep them from getting moist. So I just put one in each. They don't need to go in that deep, but obviously an inch or so down, to be honest, because these sunflowers, or even a centimetre, not even quite an inch, will do the trick. Sunflower seed will be familiar to anybody who buys sunflower seeds to eat. This is horticultural one anyway, so I wouldn't be eating this myself, but it does make for a lovely plant. So I'll just press it down just about a centimetre or so in the middle of the pot, cover it over, pat it down, all still very moist at the moment, so the seed gets the message. Moisture, warmth, soil, time to grow. I've a couple left over, so they'll be put back in the fridge, sealed as best I can, remaining dry, which is very important, and out of the heat. Final thing to make sure, don't forget, is the label, even though probably difficult to forget these ones, because that's the only one I have really in these type of containers, but sunflower and the date goes on the label. Next job is going to be using a contraption that I'm very fond of. Not everybody has one, but if you want one, Fruit Hill Farm in Bantry, they have a mail order catalogue, and that mail order catalogue contains everything from garlic and onion sets, different types of equipment, hose, good quality garden utensils. And one of them is this blocker, as it's called. The reason it's called a blocker is that it makes blocks, cubes of compost. There is an knack to it, which we will just demonstrate now, and it involves, first of all, moistening the compost so that effectively you're making what might be like a sandcastle in quadruplets of sandcastles. So we get our compost, which is in this old basin here. Take out the old labels that shouldn't be in there. It's kind of dry, so the idea really is to water it. There's a decent watering can just beyond me here. It takes a reasonable amount of water actually. Now it's a bit like baking bread, you can have too much or too little. So hopefully that's about right. I'll test it anyway by giving it a good mix, and if it is moist enough to hang together, then I know I'm ready to go. Okay, well this is pretty consistent with what I need. In other words, when I squeeze it, it's a bit spongy, there's a bit of moisture in it, but I don't want to be squeezing it too much. And that's one of the tricks in this blocker technique for seed sowing, is you don't want the compost compacted. It is not a sandcastle. Air has to be in it, and the seeds have to have space to develop. So if you get carried away and pack the compost in too much, then you're going to find that the seeds will be essentially suffocating in the compost, or drowning as the case may be. So packing it away there like that into the spaces provided, and then when it's in enough so that it doesn't fall out when you turn it up the other way, then we will press down. I'll do it this way. Press down. What I used to do, which I now regret, is I pressed too hard, and that compacted the whole thing. But now you can see that there are 4 reasonably made cubes, and inside each of the cubes there's a slight little depression there, which means that it will be the right place, the center of it, for a seed. Now the seeds that I'm going to put in this case, are leek, musselburgh, well-known variety. Try to keep the seeds dry, so I'll use it on my dry hand. Now these are tiny little seeds. As you can see, they really are going to be impossible to find once they go onto soil or onto compost, because they're black as well. So I'm going to just drop it into the indentation, and it's like one of those little balls on a roulette table. It'll fall into the correct place. Now I'm just trying to put singly into them, but if 2 doesn't really matter too much, you just take the weaker one out before you plant. I'm just going to put it back in there just to demonstrate for the moment, and then we'll make a few more, and then we'll sow peas the other side, but that's another day's work. Now I've given leek half of the tray, and I want to put peas in the other half of the tray, and I could just continue on putting the pea seeds into those little depressions, same as I did with the leek. However, once we see a pea seed, you'll recognize anyway, if you haven't seen one before, that they are a much bigger seed. Here they are in here, looking like the kind of seeds you'd have for your dinner, dried of course. These seeds come from Irish Seed Savers in County Clare, one of the centres that's benefiting from proceeds of the book Trevor's Kitchen Garden, as it so happens, because they do a lot of school courses and work with schools doing school gardens, etc. But anyway, these are the much larger pea seeds, much larger than the very almost invisible leek seeds. So I could put them in there, but what I'm going to suggest to you is that you give the pea seed or bean seed, larger seeds, more compost to grow in. So what I'm going to do first before sowing them is take these toilet roll insides that are very, very handy, because they will break down in the soil. So once the plant is grown up, it can just be put into the soil, toilet roll inside and all, and the soil will decompose it. So I'm going to fill them with fill the insides with the moist compost. Moist compost, obviously, as you know, is better for sowing seeds because they need moisture. So I'm going to leave some space, and I can fill that in when I put the seeds, after I put the seeds there. Just press it down, not too firmly. You want to leave air in the compost, of course. And I'll just finish up the rest of them there, so that half the tray will be sown with leek, half the tray will be sown with peas. And in a small garden, sometimes half the tray is all you need, really, in terms of plants, rather than having so many plants that you don't know what to do with them and they become surplus. Now, your friends may want them, but I don't have the space to maybe have one tray, the luxury of one tray per crop, so sometimes I just have half a tray of seeds. So I'm just putting the last of the compost extensions on, you might say, for the peas, and now they're ready to go. I haven't filled them up entirely, all the toilet roll insides, just leaving just a centimetre and a half really at the top, so that when I do put in the seeds, I can then just add in more compost and bury them. Really is to get the seed into the center of the compost. If it goes down the side, well, then the risk is it's going to dry out from time to time, which is not good for a young seed. So I just stick them into the center, press them down so they won't roll around, and then cover them over with compost. That one, now there's one that went to the side, so what I'm going to do is put another one in the center because I can't get it out. And if the second one grows, well, I can just take that out easy enough and leave the one in the center, which is likely to be the healthier one, in fact. Now, very simply, just put them to bed, you might say, and hopefully they will stop sleeping soon and wake up and grow. Well, all that remains really now is just to cover over where the leeks were sown with a skim of compost. Such a small seed doesn't need anything like the depth of the compost over the peas. And then a bit of a water just to settle everything down. Not too much, obviously, we don't want to be washing anything away, but just so that it's nice and moist to start with. Because one way of getting seeds off to a good start is to make sure they don't dry out. And that, regardless of what size seed they are, they have to be kept moist. Not wet, just moist, and that's the judgment call of a good gardener. So that's it. We've got a number of types of seed sowing there. We've got into the modules using the toilet roll insides, the commercial type here, which is the modules already made up, which is probably the easiest, and then we've got the the larger seeds in pots, which take up more space but give a good result because there's lots of space for the roots to develop. And all that remains for me to do is to wish you good luck in your own garden, and say if you want to catch up on any of this, it's all in the book Trevor's Kitchen Garden, along with all the illustrations, so you can see it as well as read it. And I'll just finish up by putting a couple of the labels on to show where the peas went and the leeks, and we'll see how they grow next time. Thank you.